Yo, what's going on, guys? Koi here. Today we are looking at the first ever patch notes for GEKISHIN SQUADRA Dragon Ball. Now, the thing is, first things first, I'm going to end up going through all the nitty gritty. So if this isn't that kind of video that you kind of want to see, and you kind of want to just see like oh, did my character get buffed or did my character get nerfed? Without all the actual details, then you might as well just go to the Twitter, because this is where I go into the deep dive into every single character. What did they look like before the actual patch notes, and then what are they going to look like after these patch notes? Now, let's talk about it. Now, the thing that they are doing about these balances and these game-changing features before the actual release, and by the way, the release hasn't even happened yet. It's actually happening within the next couple hours, but because the game's in maintenance. But the reason they're making these changes is because of the fact that the game itself, when we were in that last beta, which I did play, and I'm gonna add the badge for it, which is pretty cool. But since that last beta, there was a lot of characters that got very, very high pick rates and very, very high win rates because of how broken they were. Let's be honest, they were broken. And let's go ahead and talk about what they actually changed. How does this make like a difference in the actual game, and some of the features that are actually going to be absolutely game breaking or game changing as we get through it. So let's go ahead and get to the first one. First, the buffs. Looks like we have Son Kid Gohan over here. Kid Gohan was actually one of the highlights of the entire patch notes. He was a very broken character off rip, but the only reason why he was broken is because if you actually put him next to another character, such as if you used his team up ability, which was the friendship boost, his attack would go up exponentially. But the thing is, they're actually making him even more of a pick, so that he could actually battle by himself solo, but also increase the amount of buffs you get with that friendship attack. Now, there's a lot of mechanics in the game, but this one literally just has to do with the fact that he has to be working with somebody. He has to be helping with objectives. This is why he is a technical character. This is why he's a very, very valuable character on a team. And it's because he gives everyone else that he's next to a big buff. Now, let's talk about it. First things first, he does an all attack up for his ally heroes up to 400 now. His rushing attack now does 6 times 140 instead of 6 times 100, which is going to help with quite a bit. The other one is the Masenkaioku, like the Masenko pretty much. This is like his beam ability. It's going to be much bigger, which is very nice. And then leave this to me. Energy defense down effect. It's going to defense down the enemy pretty heavy. And this is actually very, very useful, because this is going to end up shutting down a lot of enemies' super high defense, such as if they're fighting a tank like Cooler or fighting a tank like Zamasu, who end up having incredibly high defense. This is their counter. So, very, very useful. Now, his super attack, Exploding Rage, is probably one of the most important ones because it does a lot of damage. Now even more damage than it did before. His cooldown has been lengthened to 70 seconds, which is a very minor change. His strike attack up effect to ally heroes has increased to 500, and his strike attack up for ally heroes shortened to up effect has shortened to 8 seconds. And his strike up defense effect has increased to 700. Now, this is a game-changing, drastic turn. Let's say if you're going to be using someone like Goku or stuff like that, and he's matched up with Gohan, he's going to end up doing a lot of work helping Goku perform amazing strike attacks and making sure that Goku seals the deal in almost every engagement and encounter. This is a very game-changing ability, because this is going to also be your very much of a clutch ability in order to make sure that you win against the other team, no matter what the effect is that is happening on the enemy team's side. This is very broken, and I'm kind of glad that this is going to make Son Gohan, Kid Gohan, more of a more valuable pick, not because he needed it, but more along the lines because people do not understand the power that Kid Gohan can really bring to the table. Let's talk about Deborah. Now, Deborah, during the actual, time that he was in the game, was already powerful as hell. He did a lot of damage. He did incredible damage with some of his skills. He was a shutdown. He froze you, it was over. That is pretty much it. Now, I'm surprised that he's actually getting a buff in this update, and I'm actually curious on how they actually managed to think this up. Because he was a top pick. He was very much winning every single match that he got into. But let's see how he actually goes. Base HP adjust increase more during the match outset. So, like, his base HP is going to be increased more, I think. He has the Doom's Ray. Now, the Doom's Ray damage decrease, which is pretty crazy because that's actually insane that it's actually decreasing. And the petrification gauge increase. So I guess they're taking away his damage and giving him more utility, which is pretty crazy for a damage character because he was holding it down. And then it looks like petrification gauge increase on super attack up to 50. So he's going to be more utility, less damage, which is pretty insane. I like that, honestly, because he was a little too much damage, a little too much of an end game threat. But we'll see how it goes with how these changes actually perform for him because, he was already a major threat. Now his petrification is going to be more of a threat to anyone who's trying to fight him 1v1 or 2v1 in the meta. Super Saiyan Trunks Teen. Base HP adjusted. So he's going to be less squishy, which is really, really nice. All attack up when transformed increased from 120 to 130%. That's pretty big. That's actually really big because that extra 10% just already adds to his ridiculous one-shot capabilities. This just adds on to the ridiculous amount of damage he could already put out. So it's a minor adjustment for a major already end game character that can really perform one-shot skills. And if you guys have not played Super Saiyan Trunks yet, he's insane. He's literally just like whenever you see him enter the battle, especially towards the end game, you see him jump on somebody, it's either a one-shot or an almost dead. It's that crazy. Match with Gohan, by the way, ridiculous. Piccolo. Much deserved character buffs. Now, Piccolo himself actually deserves a lot of credit for being a very technical character in the damage department. He has some of the most interesting skills in the entire game and one of the most devastating super attacks in the entire game, with the special beam cannon doing so much damage that it is able to steal some stuff, including main objectives, and murder absolute crazy tank heroes. Now, let's see these changes. So it looks like they actually increased the amount of energy blast range has been increased in the early game. So as you can see right here, it says about 9 to 16 to 30. Now it's going to be 12 to 18 to 30, which means that they want it to be more utilized in the early game. And I'm going to be entirely honest with you. It is not very strong. It has never been really, really strong, but they're trying to really put it out there, which makes a lot of sense. Now, the speed of it also increased exponentially, which is pretty crazy because, they actually decreased the speed on the first one, but they're, yeah. Okay, never mind. The speed has been decreased. My bad. I read that wrong. 37 to 30, 70 to 45. Now, this could be a trick up because it was fast before, but it didn't do a lot of damage, but now it could do a lot more damage, I'm guessing. Energy blast damage, all levels unified. So it looks like it goes from 25 to 2,500 to 3,500 to 40,000. And now is gone to 2,500. So it's a set. I have to test that in the game to actually understand on how that's going to be working. Skill 2, Super Explosion, damage decreased. That's pretty heavy. That's really heavy because those like pokes are kind of like what make Piccolo very, very devastating in the early game to late game. Distance between damage and distance at which damage increases per skill level adjusted. So it looks like they're going to be increasing pretty much the penalty at range, which is pretty crazy. Yeah. I mean, they're going to be increasing the damage he does based off his range, which means like early game, oh, it's pretty wacky. I don't like this. I honestly don't like this. I like the way that Piccolo worked, I would say in the first one before we ever got this type of like adjustments ever. I appreciated the first ones they did because he did a lot of damage with energy, but he would play from the distance. Now they're trying to penalize him for being too far away, but also give him some ups for playing a very specific, game here. It's pretty crazy. I honestly don't know how Light Grenade is going to feel after this. I still think that Hell Zone Grenade is probably going to be his best move, in my opinion. And Light Grenade is going to be his best move, in my opinion. I mean, just because of the fact that Light Grenade can still be used for poke, and especially since they're giving him that blast range increase, I feel like Light Grenade could still be used for poke. And Hell Zone Grenade is just going to stack on top of that, keeping them in the flux. Especially if they want to stand there stupid, you could use Light Grenade to keep them on their toes, or a Special Beam Cannon to seal the deal. But that's just me. Maybe I'm too much of a technical player for Piccolo. Maybe I just don't play him as aggressively as some people do. But that's just me personally. Frieza First Form. Now this is pretty crazy here because I'm surprised that they're actually reducing the cooldown of Supernova. It's a very devastating and very long-lasting ability. They're also increasing his adjustment on HP, which is great because honestly, like, let's be real, First Form Frieza up against like any character that does burst damage was pretty much dead. Deborah, Baby, Goku, like he was just very, very easy to beat up in the end game, which really shot him out of the, keeping in the front line, even being able to like M1 trade. It's just not going to happen with someone like Frieza. But now he might be able to actually perform a little bit better in the end game, which is going to be really nice. Super Attack Supernova, love it. I love the fact that his cooldown has been shortened, not because he needed it, but more along the lines because I'm a Frieza fan and a Frieza main, so I will enjoy those buffs. Full Power Bojack. Full Power Bojack himself was an incredible character to play as because he was so unique, but his stats were not there. His stats were very, very lackluster. He was being killed in every M1 trade against Goku. It was just not that good. Luckily, his HP is getting adjusted. It looks like they're doing a transformed increase to everybody to 30%, which is really, really nice. Passive Galactic Assassin. Okay, so this is really good. So Passive Galactic Assassin, subordinates will now appear in a fixed order, and stacked based on scaling, enhanced follow-up attacks will be removed for consistency. This is nice. Now, the biggest flaw about Bojack is even with the gang of Bojack, like, subordinates that he'd have, or Bojack pirates that he'd have on his side, it still felt like a 1v1. So hopefully this actually adds on to his damage and actually makes him perform a lot better, and we'll see. And his super attack, Giga Grand Smasher, very lackluster, very easy to dodge out of. If you just move to the side, he can't hit you. So I think for something like that, that barely lands ever, this is pretty detrimental to the fact that he should have a much shorter cooldown than 90 seconds. Because I'm telling you now, it does not pay off. The Kafla change, which a lot of people were like very, very like scared about, doesn't matter. It's like, it's just adding on to what they already are changing for every transforming character. Baby, the Nerfs. This is pretty crazy. So, energy explosion, movement speed during activation decreased to 70%. They want to slow you down before you could hurt people. Decrease the shockwave damage. Man, that's crazy. Small change, but pretty significant, in my opinion. Cooldown. Yeah. This was very spammable. Skill 2 was incredibly spammable. Baby was an absolute demon during the actual time that he was out. Very, very broken. Absolutely insane, because he would not do a lot of damage based off energy explosion. This would be the seal of the deal. This is why they're slowing it down, because this was the seal of the deal. Skill 3 is where the money was at. It was so broken. You'd be able to hold on to your target and steal the life ridiculously. Even if you had a crappy teammate, you'd be able to seal the deal with, even in a 2v1 state. It was insane. But looks like they're nerfing it right here. So self-heal overtime decreased. Overtime increased. But possession duration has been decreased to 6 seconds. Very rough. Very detrimental to all of Baby's kit. This is kind of what his bread and butter was. This is the first skill you would take to level 3. And I'm very, very sad to say that this is going to hurt Baby players a lot. Even if you give them a little more recovery time per second, like, it's going to hurt, man. Because that lifesteal was the money maker. Every single time that Baby would hit, every single time your teammate would hit, it'd be 50% of that damage increase to lifesteal, which made your character damn near immortal for that 8 seconds. And they're nerfing it. Rough, man. Rough. Very rough. Baby's gonna be hurting after this update. And I'm telling you, Baby's gonna be hurting, because nothing else in his kit was as detrimental as this skill 3. I would even say that Baby would not even be S tier anymore. I feel like Baby's gonna probably fall off so heavy because of this change. But of course, I'll try Baby. I'll see how he plays. We'll see what happens. Now, they are changing the scaling for Super Attack Revenge Blast. They're making it slightly worse, which is really rough, because it was such a good skill. And it really worked in the early game. But now, they're reducing the scaling on the healing. They're reducing on the scaling on the damage. I don't know, man. It's not looking good for Baby. I'm telling you now. Baby nerfs really put him in the ground this season. We'll see if he gets if he ends up playing the same anymore, or if he needs a buff after this, but we'll see what happens. Android 18. Now, Android 18 was so detrimental to just locking you down and destroying you. That was it. She would be the first one in the match to show up to your face, do a lot of damage, and a win. That was it. She did a lot of damage. What can I say? Every single one of her skills did a lot of freaking damage, including her super attack, which would just seal the deal and end you. And it did a lot of damage. A lot of damage. Of course, she actually needed a little bit of setup. For instance, they actually made it a lot easier for her to get more HP towards the end game, which is really, really nice, because she was the glass cannon of the game next to Trunks, but she was also the one with the highest win rate and one of the highest pick rates in the game, because of how utilized every single one of her skills would be compared to Trunks, who relied specifically on a super attack to make him actually broken. So, Rush Attack no longer provides stacks. That is detrimental. Now she does not like the character that is in your face all the time. And it sucks too, because this HP adjustment would have really put her over the top and made her more broken in the end game. But I guess they don't want her to be broken towards the end game, which is really, really rough. Damage decreased from Acel Dash, which is pretty crazy, because now it's just 680, 680, 680, which just makes it even worse than it was at level 1, which is insane. While reactivating, if an enemy is KO'd by your final one, the number of possible reactivations will now increase. Okay, so now it's an execution skill. But if it doesn't execute, then it's pretty much over. Not much we could do after that. It's going to be used twice, and then that's it. Now, this just really hurts her kit, because she was the rushdown of any rushdown character that would exist. She was squishy, but she did it. She did the job. I wonder how this is going to make Android 18 fans feel. The fact that she's not going to be able to lock down anybody anymore, and she's going to have to play like a freaking, like a bruiser that just is a bruiser, doesn't have anything unique anymore. And don't get me started with Super Attack Heartbreaker. That was just one big old one punch, really cool move, now 90 seconds long. That's going to be rough, man. That's going to be really freaking rough for Android 18. Zamasu. Base HP increase more. That's crazy because he actually had a really good HP towards the end. His super attack. Oh, they just made it easier for people to get out of. It's still a really detrimental and massive super attack. So the fact that you're like, how do you say it? That you're going to be like, okay, this is like, you're going to slow people down and still do a lot of damage. Only change that by 10%. You're only saving people like Android 18, Kafla, freaking Krillin. Like, you're only saving people who are already fast, who can already get out of this. Goku's still dead. Cooler's still dead. Well, actually, Cooler could actually dash out of it. But still, like, you know, it's not really that big of a difference. Majin Buu. Good Buu, by the way. Good Buu. No skills effect to enemies on hit removed. I don't know what that means. I'll have to try that out. Boost super support, by the way. Cooler. Now, Cooler. He's not as crazy as people think. He's actually pretty weak. The fact that he's getting nerfs is insane. Even if they increase his HP, it's not really going to matter. In the first playtest that we ever played Cooler, he was very strong. He shut people down. He grabbed you. He slammed you. His hitbox was okay at best. It took a lot of skill to use him as a tank. In this season, he was like, he would be a threat if you fought him while he was using his skills. After that, he's really easy to take down, really easy to shut down, probably around like B tier. Which hurts for me to say because I'm a big Cooler fan. But, you know, they're adjusting his HP, they're making him more tanky, they're upping his survivability, they're increasing the length of his cooldown on Supernova. I don't know. Cooler still needs something. He needs some type of like major lockdown, like hitbox increase in order for me to take him seriously. If you just move to the side, he fucking misses. It's insane. Krillin. Let me tell you exactly who the hell Krillin is. He's the goddamn G. He was the goddamn monster under your bed. He was a real threat. Every move he did would make you freaking shit yourself. Krillin was an absolute monster during the last playtest and even the first playtest of Dragon Ball when it was even Project Multi. Nobody believed me. Nobody saw it coming. But he could put a nuke under your feet and you wouldn't even freaking know it. That's how detrimental Krillin was. They nerfed him. They nerfed Energy Mine. They made the cooldown just 6 seconds. It's not going to matter much. But the explosions is what mattered. Energy Blast explosion decreased. The regular to the secondary. It's slightly less detrimental, but it really shuts down his end game. Now, is it going to one-shot people? Not anymore. But it's still very, very strong. Even if you take away a couple damage from it, there's certain cards in the game that can make him an absolute monster. And this is just, you know, they're just adding on to it. That's it. Mark effect time delayed, shortened, from 77.5 seconds to 5 seconds. That's pretty good. The scattered energy wave, homing energy target. This is the one where it chases you. Damage has been increased, which is really cool. This is like if they're running away, this is what you use to shut them down. That's just nice to have. And the cooldown on Super Destructo Disc. Oh, this was the freaking deal sealer. You have no idea. This is the best ult in the entire game. Multi-hit. Damaging. If you're in the front, you're getting shotgunned in the mouth. That's it. The Super Destructo Disc super attack was insane. Because it's not just a Destructo Disc. It was multiple Destructo Discs at level 3. But I respect it. They longed the cooldown so we can't spam it towards the end game anymore. That's respectable. You know, Krillin deserves the nerfs more than anybody in the entire game. Okay, so some adjustments. I would call these halfway nerfs. Spirit Bomb and Big Bang Attack. I would even put Goku and Vegeta in the same boat here because they're literally just getting the same boosts and the same nerf. Super Oob, base HP increase, of course. Now, Battle System. This is a massive one. Now, Battle System, if you do not know, they changed it. It used to be used to get the massive buff from defeating the Great Ape, and you'd be able to win the game because the boosts were incredibly strong. But they decided to do the mini-boss system instead, which means that anybody that would fight the mini-boss would actually get the massive buffs that the mini-bosses would give off. Now, what this means now is that they're buffing the actual system to make these characters more significant. Android 16 is giving you a massive speed boost. Nappa is giving you 30% more rush damage. And Jocko is now giving you 20% more skill damage. It's just insane. Of course, I think Jocko Nappa to Android 16 is the most sought out for. Android 16's buff is still not very significant, but Jocko is still one of the most important buffs in the entire game. And then, of course, Nappa is secondary. Gods of Destruction will now prioritize heroes rather than accompanying characters such as Dodoria and Zarbon. Now, this was kind of a cheese. I'm going to be real with you. If you were Frieza, you could have Dodoria and Zarbon take the hit, and then the Gods of Destruction would just let you beat the shit out of them, which is really cool. But now they nerfed that, so pretty crazy. The Rider, Help Ride. This is the Dragon. Activation can now be chosen with directional input, which is really cool. It used to be like a one and done, which would hit a wall or something. Defense buff, cooldown shortened from 60 seconds to 30 seconds. Oh, that's really, really tough, honestly. I really think that defense buff is really, really broken. If you use it correctly. Now that you could use it every 30 seconds, every fight or engagement is going to be able to allow you to just do a lot more sustainability. Say you're like Frieza, Cooler, Vegeta, stuff like that. You'd be able to stand in there for a lot longer. Zamasu, which is great, especially defending, is going to be an incredible buff to be using. I think maybe even top 5. Let's see. Gekishin High, cooldown reduction rate increased to 50%. That's pretty crazy. Super Snowball. Oh my god, attack up per use increased at 75%. Okay, by the way, these are cards. That's pretty crazy. Lightning Swift is pretty mid still. Super Snowball is going to be the craziest buff ever in the game. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed. All that fun stuff. Take it easy and peace out.